Our first frame shows Drumcullion Bridge, which is approximately midway along the candidate stretch. That's Ahowillan Bridge, which is just beyond the terminus at the east end, and that is the Ahowillan Road crossing. Our first map shows the National Cycle Network, which is a central part of the government's transport policy, also known as Smarter Travel. Smarter Travel includes the National Cycle Network. Objective 3 of the framework plan is to provide designated rural cycle networks to facilitate visitor and recreational cycling. On this map, we draw your attention to Corridor 1, the Dundalk to Sligo route, which includes the candidate stretch. In the National Cycle Network, disused railway lines and canal banks, where available, are recommended as providing a higher quality route alignment. It would follow that when the opportunity to secure these routes arises, it makes sense to restore the route. Our second map shows the Inland Waterway Network. You will note the strategic location of the Shannon-Nairn Waterway in linking Ireland's ancient east Ulster Canal area with the hidden Heartlands and Shannon Blueways area to the west. The project complements the Blueways of the Shannon-Nairn Waterway by utilising a disused corridor where the Blueway is obstructed by lakes. The project will provide connectivity between the two main marinas on the Shannon-Nairn Waterway at Ballinamore and Ballyconnell. The Greenway location map shows the route between Ballinamore and Ballyconnell. The completed stretches of the route at Ballinamore, Templeport and Ballyhady are shown as solid green line. They total approximately 9.5 kilometres or 50% of the route between Ballinamore and Ballyconnell. The main various tourist attractions in and around Ballinamore are Fina Abbey and heritage sites 3 kilometres to the west, Glenview Museum, the Island Theatre, the Shannon-Nairn Waterway, John McGahern related sites, the Marble Arch Caves Geopark and the Bon Boy Workhouse. Also the Schlieve-Nairn Mountains near Ballinamore, and at Ahowillan and beyond, the Kilka Mountains in County Cavan dominate the landscape to the north. There are many recreational trails developed in these mountains. The route is extremely rural. There are no buildings on or adjacent to it, no underground services and no road crossings except at the trailheads at either end. We are now looking at a small bit of footage, coloured footage from the 1950s of the old narrow gauge railway line, which closed in 1959. We've now moved on to the restored Greenway between the Ballinamore trailhead at the old railway station and going out to Corgar. That has recently been restored, and it's a 2.2 kilometre section of very high quality Greenway route. We are now looking at Corgar Halt. It was the old level crossing, and this is the start of the candidate stretch. It will end 2.65 kilometres distant at the Ahowillan Road. The cottage that you've just seen there has been very sensitively maintained with due regard to its Victorian heritage. On the right is Lake Corgar, which is the second of 3 prime fishing lakes that you will see from the Greenway route, and there are some fishing stands further on. The lakes are good for pike, rudd, roach and perch. It is well developed for as a coarse angling fishing destination, and has hosted numerous All-Ireland fishing championships over the years. Fisheries Ireland have welcomed this project as adding value to their product. It offers the prospect that fishermen and their families can walk the Greenway to access the routes and enjoy some rural recreation. We are fortunate that the route remains virtually intact since the railway closed 61 years ago in 1959. The track bed is solid under about 150 millimetres of sod, which has accumulated over the years, and blackthorn hedges, now very overgrown. But the blackthorn hedges certainly define the route almost everywhere. There's a lot of ash and grey willow trees along the route. Much of the old fence bull wire is still in place from the railway time. That would be more than 80 years old. We're about 450 metres from Corgar. The route is dominated by the wild vegetation and small wild trees, a feature for most of the rest of the route to Ahowillan. At this point, we are entering the first of 2 cuttings. We're in the cutting, a straight cutting about 400 metres long. The restoration work is mainly clearance of vegetation and restoring the drainage to the outfalls to the right. The wooded areas are mainly blackthorn hedges and wild trees, ash, holly and willow that have grown unrestricted over the decades. The route is reasonably passable in most places. The track bed is characterised by these small trees with brambles, briars, nettles and grass. The cuttings are by definition in low ground, and during inclement weather they can become flooded fairly quickly. But the natural drainage is straightforward, being adjacent to the lakes. Above the wooded areas, the drone has generally remained over the centre of the route. We are now approaching Drumcullion Bridge. That is in the centre of a long curved rock cutting, and it is part of a 1.2 kilometre long S-bend, the latter half of which is on embankment up to 6 metre wide in some places. The bridge is approximately 1.5 kilometres from Corgar. After the bridge, the landscape changes and the adjacent land is on lower ground. Much of the remainder of the route is on curved embankment and through forested areas. At about 250 metres from the bridge, there is a fine cut stone arch culvert in the embankment, presumably provided for the convenience of the local landowner. Beyond this point, we are in the forest area. The route is along the verge of the Sitka spruce forest on the left-hand side. In the distance, we will begin to see the Kilka Mountains in County Cavan. These mountains become more dominant as the route advances beyond Ahawillan and towards the Marble Arch Caves Geopark in West County Cavan. For most of the forested area, the route is curving to the right and it is skirting the boundary of the forest. The forest is mainly a Sitka spruce forest, and the deciduous randomly growing wild trees are to the right. Further on, we are going through the Sitka spruce forest on both sides. Fortunately, the route is preserved in a wide reservation. On the route itself, there are just randomly growing small wild trees. The Sitka spruce is widely planted in Leitrim due to the suitability of the ground. The heavy clay subsoil does not drain particularly well. Forestry and tourism are highlighted as becoming the main sources of further economic activity for the local economy. Beyond the plantation, we enter a straight 300-metre stretch up to the trailhead at the Ahawillan Road. When we see the Ahawillan Road, you will see a white car in the distance. The surface here would be about 1 metre above the adjacent land, and you're probably seeing now the Kilka Mountains becoming more prominent in the background. Beyond the trailhead, the corridor continues along a wide verge at the side of the Ahawillan Road as it approaches Ahawillan Bridge, approximately 150 metres beyond the trailhead. Ahawillan is the location of many sites associated with the early life of the local author John McGahern, who is buried at Ahawillan Churchyard. We are now looking at the S-bend on the Ahawillan Road. The S-bend is due to the railway bridge where the railway line crosses underneath the road. We are now looking at the structure of Ahawillan Bridge. Well, that completes our survey of the Corgar to Ahawillan stretch of the Cavan and Leitrim Greenway. It is a project which supports the business plans of all the major tourism assets in the area, as evidenced in our stakeholder letters of support. In particular, it will be a central feature of the €2 million junction project currently underway at Ballinamore Railway Station. We would like to thank Leitrim County Council, our statutory partner in the progression and the construction of these projects.